112, the noes are 7. Part 1 is amended will stand part. We now move to Part 2. This is debate on clauses 14 and 15 and Schedules 1 and 2, and the question is a Part 2 stand part. Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Part 2 is appropriately titled Technical and Consequential Amendments, and it is a reasonably technical part of the legislation, but it is indeed consequential. It is an exceptionally consequential part of the bill because it implements the changes that are held in Schedules 1 and 2, and the changes in Schedule 1 are actually the guts of what this is all about. The changes in Schedule 1 actually reduce the blood and breath alcohol limits from 400 in the case of breath, replacing 400 with 250, in the case of blood, replacing 80 with 50. So this really does go to the very heart of what this legislation is about, which is reducing the drink-drive limit in New Zealand. And I'd like to perhaps traverse some more of the reasons why we are reducing the drink-drive limit in New Zealand and refer to some of the statements that have been made this afternoon, sir. Because Dennis O'Rourke accurately referred to the drink drivers who cause the least amount of harm. I think was the phrase he said, the drink drivers who cause the least amount of harm. And he was absolutely right when he referred to people who are at 80 milligrams of blood milligrams per litre of blood as drink drivers. Because they in fact are drink drivers. They are drunk at that point. They should not be behind the wheel, and we should not tolerate drink driving. Our law should not tolerate drink driving, and that's what Schedule 1 is all about, is ceasing the legal tolerance of drink driving. It doesn't matter whether the people who are between 50 and 80 or 250 and 40 and 400 in the case of breath cause the least amount of harm or at the lowest end of the scale of drink driving. They are drink driving, and it should be codified in our law that they are drink driving. And so, sir, I think that the argument that just because people are a little bit drunk, we should continue to allow them to drive under our law is not one that stands up in the court of public opinion. This change, the changes held in Schedule 1, actually ensure that in our law we have limits that ensure that people cannot legally be drunk and be behind the wheel. The other thing that the other reason why you'd make the changes in Schedule 1 is because, as people have referred to, there's around 3.5, on average, 3.5 lives will be saved every year because that's the number of people killed by drivers who are between 50 and 80. And that's really tangible, that the evidence is very strong around that. However, there's a good case to be made that more lives than that will be saved by making the changes proposed in Part 2 under Schedule 1. And that is because when overseas changes like this have been made, there has been a measurable reduction in the number of people who are severely intoxicated. And that's because, as Mike Sabin pointed out, alcohol is a mind-altering substance. It impairs one's ability to make good decisions, and once you're over 0.05, then your ability to make a decision about whether if you continue drinking you'll still be too drunk to drive is impaired. And so by bringing the limit down, it actually forces people to make a decision whilst they're still capable of making that decision. And what the experience has been overseas is that when that lower limit has come down, the number of highly intoxicated drivers has reduced as well. And that should have a positive impact on our road toll, well beyond the known quantity of on average 3.5 lives saved per year. So I think in a way the government is underselling this. There's actually a lot more opportunity, there's a lot more potential for lives to be saved because of the changes made in Part 2 of this legislation, sir. It makes good sense to implement the changes held in Part 2, technical and consequential as they may be, because they are the very, very heart of this legislation, and these changes will save lives, and for that reason this House should wholeheartedly support them.
Members, we come to the vote on Part 2. The question is, a Part 2 stand part? Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Members, the ayes are 112, the noes are 7. Part 2 will stand part. The question is, that Schedule 1 stand part? Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Members, the ayes are 112, the noes are 7. Schedule 1 will stand part. The question now is, that Schedule 2 stand part? Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party votes called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Members, the ayes are 112, the noes are 7. Schedule 2 will stand part. We now move to the clauses. The question is, that clauses 1 and 2 stand part. The question is, that clause 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Members, the ayes are 112, the noes are 7. Clause 1 will stand part. The question now is, that clause 2 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Members, the ayes are 112, the noes are 7. Clause 2 will stand part. I will report this bill with amendment presently. Members, we now turn to the Veterans Support Bill. When we were last considering this bill, we were debating Part 1. The Honourable Phil Goff had the call and